Welcome to Norm at Night.
Everything sports in one place.
Now, your host,
Norm.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Norm at Night, Sirius XM, Canada Talks Channel 167. I'm actually co-host and fill-in host, producer Phil DeLand. Norm Rumack is on vacation for the time being. He will be back in studio Monday, likely to tell us about, how upset he was that he decided to take this week. Of all weeks, he decided to take this week off from the world of sports. We got lots to get to tonight, mostly baseball. There were a few deals done today, one or two anyways. Pretty quiet day. Joe, it was a pretty quiet day.
How can you say it's quiet?
It was a quiet day. Joe Fafari, my co-host tonight, he's helping me out in studio. Old college mate of mine, mostly basketball guy, but knows a thing or two about baseball, which is always good. So with that in mind, we're going to get right to it. Our first guest on the night is Steve Carney. He is a reporter of Tampa Bay, host of Cage Side 620, update anchor, knows all things Tampa Bay Rays and all things baseball, which is absolutely terrific because that's our first topic of the night. Steve, thanks for joining us. It's nice because as everything was happening today, I thought I'm going to get a chance to talk to Steve, and I'm not going to have the old man looking over my shoulder, judging and giving me those eyes as I ask, questions about the Toronto sports world. And, Norm does everything he can to, as he says, level the media in Toronto. So the big news, obviously, of the day, the Toronto Blue Jays acquired a actual ace in David Price, giving up some prospects, including Daniel Norris, to the Detroit Tigers. So basically my question off the top is, if anybody knows anything about David Price, and I tweeted this out earlier, is it's going to be you. You had a chance to watch him for many years in Tampa Bay. The obvious question would be, what does he bring to the field? And I think that's a given. He's an ace and he's a leader on the field. But what I want to know is, what can he bring to the Toronto staff and the Toronto Blue Jays as a team off the field and away from the diamond?
In the Blue Jays clubhouse, he is one of the most outgoing, personable individuals that the 4 days that he's not pitching. He's a different character when he gets to the day he's pitching. You don't want to go around him before the game. He tends to be very critical of himself after games. But for the 4 days that he is not pitching, he brings a very relaxed vibe. And I know that there are a lot of guys in that clubhouse that are it's not like this is a clubhouse of young guys. I mean, you look at what the Toronto clubhouse looks like. It is a lot of very seasoned veterans. And while Price is a seasoned veteran, he can be kind of a cut-up. And it's going to be really interesting to see how his cut-up nature blends with guys like R.A. Dickey, who is very, very serious when he pitches, and also Mark Burley, a big-time pitcher who knows, he's got over 200 wins in his career. So, Burley's got a lot of experience, but those guys are very, very serious when they're out there. And David is kind of like going to be the one guy that can actually kind of be a relief valve. When things get really, really tight, he tends to cut up, and it really does relax a clubhouse that way. He's going to be a really good thing for the Blue Jays clubhouse.
And it's really, what the Jays have been lacking for a while now has been a leader that can perform really on the mound. And what I mean by that is, they have guys that lead in the clubhouse. Mark Burley especially is a guy that a lot of the young pitchers will look up to for advice and to help them. And he's going to be a consistent guy. He's going to give you 10-plus wins at 200-plus innings. But every 5 days, it's nice to have that one ace that can really show up, shut down an opposing team. And on the flip side of that, it has to be a relief in a sense for David Price when he comes to a team like Toronto, where he knows he's going to get a lot of run support when the roster's healthy.
I mean, you look at what Drew Hutchinson has gotten this year nearly 8 runs a game during all of his outings, and I know having to see him a couple of times this year pitch against the Rays, I think we gave up. I think we allowed 9 runs once, and then I think we got 5 the other time, and I was really excited. I was like, woohoo! The Rays only allowed 5. That's almost a win when you're going up against Hutchinson. And if Price can get that sort of run support instead of the run support that he's used to getting, this could be a very interesting stretch run for him.
And hopefully a long stretch run if they can get if they can make up some ground in the American League East, potentially even in the wild card and make it to October. Joe Fafari, go right ahead.
Steve, the Jays lost Reyes. He's a big personality in the clubhouse. The guys really miss him. But like you said with Price, he has a great personality. He's on Twitter a lot, interacting with the fans. How do you think that the Jays are really, I know that they're excited, do you think this is going to help them in terms of intangibles and just camaraderie with the team?
It certainly will, Joe, because he's one of those guys that you mentioned his social media presence. He's going to get a lot of the Blue Jays fans who were against him when he was a member of the Rays and a member of the Tigers. They're going to be really, really excited to have a guy like that with the personality that he has. Like I mentioned, he's a real cut-up, a guy that tends to do all sorts of silly things that makes his teammates laugh, but it also makes the fans laugh. And he's going to go out every 5 days and give you everything that he's got, because that's the way that he's built to operate. You've seen that with Tampa Bay. You've seen that with Detroit. I think he's going to be a really fantastic addition to that rotation. And you mentioned the loss of Reyes, and while they did lose Reyes, it's not like they gave up Reyes for nothing. They got probably one of the best hitting shortstops in all of baseball in Troy Tulowitzki.
I'm glad you brought up Tulowitzki, because that was going to be my next point. So, great minds think alike in that segue. The Jays added an obvious upgrade defensively in Troy Tulowitzki, and obviously upgraded in the bat, as we saw in his debut. 2 doubles, a big home run. The home runs weren't really part of Reyes' game. He was more get on base, steal a couple bases, and obviously that's not what Troy Tulowitzki's about. Does adding Troy Tulowitzki help, and this might seem a little strange, but does it help the pitching staff when they know they have a shutdown guy like Tulowitzki up the middle that's not necessarily a defensive liability like Jose Reyes was becoming?
When you look at Jose Reyes, and I got to see Jose Reyes when he was in the minor leagues for the New York Mets, when I was living in Virginia, and got to see him when the Norfolk Tides were the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets, and he was an amazing specimen at that age. He's 23 or 24. Now he's in his mid 30s, almost early to mid 30s, and the legs are starting to go. He's starting to lose his step in range. So I think it was time to send Reyes on his way. And it not only helps the pitching staff because you know that you have the defensive prowess that Tulowitzki has, but also it's going to help Devin Travis, because now with Reyes not in the lineup anymore, you've got that leadoff spot open, and Devin Travis, who spent all this time in the number 9 spot, will now go up to the leadoff spot, and I think will end up flourishing up there. I mean, you saw what he did in the number 9 hole. He's looked fantastic at the plate, and he's done well on defense. Getting him up at the top of the lineup, he's going to be really tough to stop.
Steve Carney, our guest on Norm at Night, Sirius XM Canada Talks Channel 167. Phil DeLand is who I am, filling in for Norm Rumack, so do not adjust your dial. Joe Fafari in studio with me as well. Just moving on from the Jays, Steve, the rest of the AL East hasn't really done anything of note to either improve or really strip down their team. The Boston Red Sox arguably made a big deal, made their own big trade by trading away Shane Victorino. Tampa Bay, I know, has made 1 or 2 small moves. But the curious thing for me has been both New York and Baltimore. New York obviously has a comfortable lead, 6.5 games up in the American League East, and Baltimore is neck and neck with Toronto for that second wild card position. Is it surprising at all to you that neither Baltimore nor New York has made a deal, or is it just a matter of neither team has found the right deal to make?
Dustin Ackley tell you that it's not a big deal.
That's true. I forgot about Dustin Ackley. He kind of got lost in the shuffle today. I did have him in my notes, but it all got mixed up, once David Price and Cole Hamels decided to, get dealt.
Yeah, when the pitching moves are always going to be the big moves, and I can understand Ackley being kind of a secondary piece, especially for the Yankees, because you look at what Ackley brings, and you're looking at a guy who's basically going to be in his role until Chase Headley comes back and is 100% again. So I kind of understand that, but it is interesting that Baltimore has not really made the moves that, you look at what Toronto has done, going out and getting